Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being genuinely well-informed, especially when the headlines are, well, flying fast and furious. Today, we're diving into a topic that's not just hitting organizations, it's fundamentally reshaping how we think about cybersecurity. We're talking about a new breed of attackers shaking up everything from production lines right down to your customer data. We've all seen the news, right? These high-profile cyber attacks, they aren't just about stealing data anymore. I mean, they're stopping entire operations. We saw Jaguar Land Rover halt production at key sites. Manufacturing and retailing severely disrupted, as they put it. Then Google had to urge, 2.5 billion users to tighten security after a breach. And it's not just the giants. Major retailers like M&S, Co-op, Harrods, they've all been grappling with similar stuff. These aren't isolated events. They really signal a profound human-centric shift in the cyber threat landscape.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to understand this new demographic of, highly agile, often English-speaking, and incredibly adept hacker groups. They're mastering the art of social engineering.
We'll be exploring exactly who these new players are, how they operate with such, frankly, devastating effect, and, most critically, what their rise means for your organization's security posture right now.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, beyond just the individual breaches, is that we're seeing a rapid evolution of the attacker themselves. For this deep dive, we've pulled critical insights from a Guardian article detailing that JLR attack, and also a really comprehensive piece from The Conversation that gets into the ShinyHunters attack on Google via Salesforce. By connecting the dots between these incidents, we can reveal a larger interconnected threat, and it's one that's far more sophisticated in its human manipulation than maybe many organizations are currently prepared for.
Absolutely. So our goal is to extract the most important nuggets from these sources, give you a clear understanding of this sophisticated, rapidly adapting, and as you said, primarily human-centric cyber threat. So where do we start with these new adversaries? Let's kick off by exploring this emerging demographic, these threat actors. They're often collectively referred to as the scattered Lapsus hunters. The Guardian's reporting on the Jaguar Land Rover incident gives us a really stark example of their power. And just imagine one of Britain's biggest car makers suddenly halting production, their manufacturing, their entire retail operations severely disrupted, all because of a cyber incident. And what's interesting is how responsibility was claimed. It came from English-speaking hackers, a group also linked to that M&S breach. They brazenly posted a screenshot of JLR's internal IT systems on a Telegram channel. I mean, just putting it out there. And the name itself points to this convergence. Scattered Lapsus Hunters. It's a blend of Scattered Spider, Lapsus, and ShinyHunters. It's like different gangs collaborating and merging.
That combined name really speaks to the amorphous, almost fluid nature of these groups. Scattered Spider, for instance, isn't some rigid top-down organization. It's often described more as an umbrella term for a kind of demographic. We're talking about individuals typically in their late teens or early 20s. And a key characteristic is that they are native English speakers. They've been linked to major attacks on British retailers like M&S, Co-op, Harrods this year. And notably, 4 people, including 3 teenagers, were actually arrested in the UK last July in connection with those specific retail breaches. Then you've got Lapsus. They share very similar tactics and, demographics. You might remember the headlines about the 18-year-old Arian Kurtaj from Oxford. He was part of Lapsus, sentenced for stealing those 90 clips of the unreleased Grand Theft Auto 6 game during a wider hacking spree. And ShinyHunters, also English-speaking, but the Guardian source notes some French links there. Sébastien Raoult, a French man in his early 20s, sentenced to the U.S. for his activities.
So it's not just one single group, but a kind of collective, is that right? And what makes this demographic uniquely effective, maybe compared to the more traditional cybercrime outfits we tend to think of?
That's a really crucial distinction. What's fascinating here, I think, is their digital native status. Their fluency in English online spaces gives them this unparalleled ability to craft nuanced, believable social engineering narratives. They communicate almost exclusively online, using platforms like Telegram. They don't fit that structured hierarchical model often associated with groups linked to, say, Eastern Europe. They're described as keen on using social media channels, not just for comms, but for publicizing their exploits, even for recruitment sometimes. This means they can often bypass the linguistic or cultural red flags that maybe more traditional non-native speaking attackers might trigger. It makes their social engineering attempts far more convincing. We even see connections to personas like Ray, linked to the Hellcat ransomware gang, which claimed to have extracted data from JLR earlier. Fits the exact same mold.
That makes a lot of sense. Their deep understanding of online culture, the native English fluency, it gives them a massive advantage in manipulating people. And the immediate real-world impact on JLR was just profound. Not only was production halted, but car industry sources revealed this incident severely affected JLR's suppliers too, costing them tens of millions of pounds in sales. This hit JLR hard, especially since they were already navigating financial challenges, reporting a 49% fall in pre-tax profits just months before the attack. So, for our listeners, how should understanding this new demographic fundamentally shift their perspective on the cyber threat compared to, what they might be used to with traditional state-sponsored actors?
Yeah, it's a bit of a game changer. This isn't some distant, highly sophisticated state-sponsored threat operating solely in the shadows, relying purely on complex code. Not always, anyway. This is agile, often young, and globally but locally connected groups that leverage human psychology and direct communication. They can cause significant economic and operational damage, disrupt entire supply chains, impact huge global companies with surprising speed. The critical takeaway, I think, is that their youth and digital fluency make them adaptable, innovative, and incredibly effective at exploiting that human element. Which means every organization really needs to reconsider who their adversary might actually be.
That's a powerful picture of who they are. But understanding who is only half the battle, right? The real concern for organizations is how they're managing to pull off such devastating attacks. What's their playbook look like now? Here's where it gets really interesting.
Indeed. These groups are definitely shifting tactics. They're moving beyond simply breaking into systems by exploiting technical vulnerabilities. Now, they are masterfully tricking their way in. That Google Salesforce attack, where ShinyHunters got global attention and prompted Google to warn 2.5 billion users. That's a prime example of this evolving methodology.
So we're talking sophisticated social engineering.
Precisely. The primary method we're seeing these groups use more and more frequently is vishing. We all kind of know how social engineering plays on human vulnerabilities, manipulating people into giving up info or performing actions they wouldn't normally do. Vishing takes this a significant step further by using voice communication. Criminals pose as legitimate IT help desk members, or maybe other trusted individuals in a company, to trick employees into sharing their passwords, or, crucially, their multi-factor authentication MFA codes.
Right. And the truly alarming layer here, I gather, involves some cutting-edge tech that makes this vishing stuff much, much harder to detect.
Absolutely. That's the scary part.
Yeah.
The alarming new layer is the use of deepfakes and generative AI to actually clone voices. This means a call from a colleague or IT support could sound eerily authentic. It replicates the exact voice patterns, the inflections of someone you know, someone you trust. It dramatically lowers an employee's guard, making it incredibly difficult to spot a malicious attempt just by the sound of the voice.
Wow, that's astonishing. And this isn't just some isolated technique, right? How widespread is this vishing tactic becoming?
It's really widespread, pervasive, you could say. In just 2025 alone, companies across all sorts of sectors, Qantas, Pandora, Adidas, Chanel, Tiffany & Co., Cisco, they've all been targeted using strikingly similar vishing tactics. And that's ultimately affected millions of users worldwide. It just underscores how effective and widely deployed this method has become.
It's quite incredible how many major brands you just listed have fallen prey to this. What's the evolution story for a group like ShinyHunters? How did they end up adopting these human-centric tactics?
Well, their strategy has evolved quite significantly. Initially, ShinyHunters focused mainly on exploiting vulnerabilities in, say, cloud applications and website databases. Technical stuff. But their pronounced shift to social engineering, that's directly attributed to their links and active collaboration with groups like Scattered Spider and Lapsus. They learned from each other. In mid-August, ShinyHunters actually went so far as to publicly announce on Telegram their collaboration with these other known threat actors. They named targets like Salesforce and Alliance Life. Now, that channel was quickly taken down, but not before they released Alliance Life's Salesforce data. That included a staggering 2.8 million customer records, just dumped online. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, these groups aren't just stealing data anymore. They're weaponizing access and reputation in very public ways. The rebranded Scattered Lapsus Hunters, they're now openly advertising ransomware as a service. They're claiming superiority over established groups like Lockbit and DragonForce. They don't just operate in the shadows. They often use public extortion messages, even social media channels, to pressure their victims and will advertise their prowess. It shows a clear confidence and a sophisticated understanding of both human psychology and digital ecosystems.
So the really critical takeaway here for our listeners, it's that their organization's weakest link might not be a complex firewall or an outdated server anymore. It could very well be a trusting employee who, under the right kind of social engineering pressure, maybe just trying to be helpful, inadvertently opens the door to absolutely devastating consequences. These groups are incredibly sophisticated at exploiting fundamental human nature. So what does this all mean for you and your organization? Let's try and bring it all together. The Jaguar Land Rover incident shows us the very real operational havoc, the supply chain disruption these groups can cause. It impacts not just one company, but a whole ecosystem. Then the Google Salesforce attack highlights massive data and reputational risks that can shake user confidence on a global scale. This isn't just an IT department's problem, is it? It's a core business risk that demands a collective, proactive response.
And this raises an important question. Are your current defenses truly robust against these human-centric attacks, especially when they're using advanced phishing techniques like those AI voice clones? Our sources highlight some actionable strategies that go beyond the traditional cybersecurity measures. First, employee awareness and training need to evolve significantly. It's no longer enough for just basic cybersecurity modules. Organizations really must implement scenario-based training that specifically prepares employees for realistic phishing tactics and sophisticated social engineering attempts.
That's an interesting distinction, scenario-based. Could you maybe give us a quick example of what that might actually look like?
Certainly. Yeah, imagine a simulated phishing call. An employee gets a call, sounds exactly like their manager or IT support, trying to rush them into sharing an MFA code or clicking a suspicious link. Practicing that exact pressure point, maybe even complete with cloned voices if the tech allows for simulation, it builds vital muscle memory for vigilance. It's really about creating a safe space to fail, so employees are prepared when a real threat comes along. Second, introduce additional verification methods. This could mean requiring on-camera checks, where an employee needs to show a corporate badge, or maybe a government-issued ID during a suspicious video call, or asking specific, hard-to-find questions that an attacker couldn't easily find online. Something designed to verify the caller's identity in real time. This adds a critical layer of friction that really frustrates social engineers. Third, and this is critical, strengthen your multi-factor authentication, your MFA. Really push for phishing-resistant MFA. This specifically involves using authenticator apps that incorporate more advanced features like number matching and geo-verification.
Okay, so for those of us who might be well-informed but maybe not daily IT security specialists, how do those advanced MFA features actually make a real difference against these types of attacks, the phishing and social engineering?
That's a great question, because this is where the rubber really meets the road against phishing. With number matching, right? If you're trying to log in, your identity platform, like your company login page, will display a specific unique number, let's say 67 number. To approve the login, you then have to manually enter that exact number, 67 money, into your authenticator app on your phone. This means even if an attacker has your username and password, they can't just send a generic push notification to your phone hoping you'll blindly click approve. They'd need to know that specific unique number displayed only on your login screen at that moment. It makes it incredibly difficult to trick you into approving a login you didn't initiate. And then, geo-verification adds another powerful contextual layer. It uses your physical location as an additional check. So if you're logging in from your office in London, but an attacker tries to access your account from, say, halfway across the world in Southeast Asia, the system immediately sees that impossible travel distance. It flags it and blocks the attempt, even if they somehow got your credentials. It leverages your physical presence as a really strong security signal.
Wow, okay. Those sound like genuinely robust solutions against the kind of sophisticated human manipulation we've been discussing. And it makes perfect sense that social engineering thrives by preying on those fundamental human emotions, our innate desire to trust, to be helpful, maybe respond quickly under perceived pressure. This really does make every single employee a potential target, not just the IT team or security folks. So the immediate implication here for our listeners is crystal clear. Protecting your organization isn't just the IT department's job anymore, not by a long shot. It's a collective responsibility. It demands continuous evolving education for absolutely everyone, coupled with robust, human-proof security measures that acknowledge the sophistication of these adaptive adversaries.
So to summarize our exploration today, the cyber threat landscape is rapidly evolving. No question. It's increasingly driven by these agile, English-speaking hacker groups like the scattered Lapsus hunters who skillfully blend technical exploitation with human manipulation. They're using advanced social engineering and phishing tactics, now supercharged by tools like deepfakes and generative AI.
And the critical takeaway really is that proactive measures are no longer optional. They are now essential safeguards for all organizations, big or small. That means investing in sophisticated scenario-based employee training, implementing enhanced verification protocols like those camera checks or security questions, and adopting phishing-resistant MFA across your organization. With things like number matching and geo-verification, these are truly the front lines of defense against these sophisticated, adaptive, and deeply human-aware adversaries. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the new face of cyber threats. We really hope you feel better equipped and more informed. Before you go, maybe consider this. If a skilled social engineer were targeting your organization today, what single piece of human error, if exploited, could open the biggest door in your digital defenses? Something to mull over.